Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 22 of season 2 of the F123 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on yesterday's video where we went to the Autodromo Interlagos, I forgot the name. That's fantastic job done by me. I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Our final sprint race of the season, of course. But today, 2 races to go of the campaign, and we're back in America for the final time. Of course, last season's race here was very, very dramatic. Lando Norris taking his one and so far only F1 victory to date, of course, on the final lap ahead of Carlos Sainz. But there are big championship implications this weekend. 38 points between Verstappen and George Russell. Charles Leclerc still technically has an outside chance at the World Championship as well. Red Bull a 33-point lead in the Constructors' Championship as well there. We're locked into battle still with Oscar Piastri. 5 points between us as we head into the final couple of races there, but 49 clear of Alpine in the Constructors, so hopefully this weekend we can try and lock that down. But yeah, George and Charles, they need to win today, and they just need to hope that Max has a bit of a nightmare. Could the Dutchman now crown himself a 3-time Formula 1 World Champion? Well, might have to try and put a new ICE into the back of the car before this weekend really gets underway, of course, into qualifying. But back on the Las Vegas Strip once again. It's been a few weeks since I last raced around this track, so hopefully it's not exactly the real ideal line through turn 3. But yeah, going to take the time, very free practice to try and relearn this venue. While making our way through the final couple of corners, though, to be honest, we've pretty much done everything I think we sensibly could around this lap. How many R&D points are we going to be away from the purple score when we cross the line? 40 down? We'll give it a try. By heading out of the final corner, I think we're going to get agonisingly close, but don't sensibly see a way I can try and get purple here. Felt like we've got decent pace, though, in the car. I've got used to the circuit all over again, so I think it's time we jump into qualifying. Probably going to see top times under 90 seconds around Las Vegas this weekend. Goes to show just how much these cars have improved from last season. But Max Verstappen, I'm sure he'll want to deliver here. Obviously, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari have looked quick round here in the past, but will the Dutchman? 12 months ago, of course, this was the track that ended his championship hopes this season. It might be the track that makes them Friday night qualifying, isn't it, from Vegas, though? Of course, with it being a Saturday night Grand Prix. Wonder how that's going to work, actually, with the free practice sessions. Are they only going to get one, like we do on like a standard sprint weekend? All still yet to be decided, but either way, I'm weirdly looking forward to the Vegas Grand Prix. Do I think it's going to become a classic? Not if it does. It won't be for the right reasons of great racing, but you never know. I don't want to try and judge too much before we go into it. But anyway, trying to get our first lap then nice and tidy on the board. Car just feels so much more settled in recent weeks. Just, you know, the constant upgrades that we've done right away to the end of Season 2. Doesn't look like we're going to get any rule changes before Season 3. If we are, they're going to be very, very late to be confirmed there, as that corner is so scary, so easy just to run off down in towards the wall there on the outside. But what are the split times going to be looking like then up against Nico Hülkenberg there on a 1:09.9? At the end of Sector 2, are we going to find the red line as we head down this back straight? 2/10 up on Hülkenberg then, as we're pretty much all the way at the top of the revs. A little bit wide there as we make our way down towards the final couple of corners. And I wonder then, I'm thinking back to Monza a few weeks ago, I reckon that there's just a limit of 227 miles an hour baked into this car at the moment. We might be able to get a couple more mph in the slipstream. It's a 31.8 first lap, slower than Lawson by half a tenth. Well, we might have to be a bit of a Liam Lawson heartbreaker here. He's currently the car in P16, but as we get ready to start our last lap here from qualifying, you can see already a little bit skittish as we head out of the final corner, trying to put the power down. It's Pierre Gasly in his Alpine fastest early on in this session, so clearly their car working very, very well around this low downforce venue, but really trying to chuck the car in towards 1 there. We've got to focus up now if we want to get a good lap on the board. This corner feels like a bit of a carousel, just cannot get hooked up. Just don't have the confidence the AI do. It's way too much time there being cautious as we head onto the back straight. We've got good drive onto the straight though, so we might still have a fighting chance as we head down in towards the final couple of turns. We need to be brave, and we need to try and find every last bit of time we possibly can. Are we going to get knocked out in Q1 for the Vegas Grand Prix? If we do, it's going to be a whole fresh engine in the back of the car. They're braking early, but it allows us to tap the curbs there. The car stays flat over the second one, and 4/10 up suddenly. Half a second found as we head out of the final corner. Surely that's going to be enough to see us through and into Q2. The time's so tightly bunched. And there we go, 31.3 purple in the final sector. So we really did have the pace, and it's 11th. Well, there we go. Carlos Sainz fastest there, but Kevin Magnussen less than 100th away in P2. Red Bull and Alpine as well, looking very, very racy early on this weekend. Any major surprises out in Q1? I suppose Lawson 1,000th behind Tsunoda. Probably a bit gutted with that, but we're safely into Q2. George Russell struggling. He needs to perform, remember. One lap then here in Q2 to try and find anything more we can. Carlos Sainz fastest in Q1, now in the drop zone come the end of the second qualifying stage. But are we going to make it into Q3? As I keep saying, haven't been there since Imola. Oh, Las Vegas, I would love this to be the venue I make it possible. That was scary. Big slide as we head out onto the back straight there, reminiscent of Verstappen's in the 2021 Saudi Arabian GP qualifying, really trying to wring the neck out of the car, giving her everything she's got at the moment. You can see 400s up on Carlos Sainz as we make our way into the final few corners. Make sure we brake nice and tidy there. That was good. Planted over the second curb. Fantastic hook up on the exit. That's been a pretty good recovery after that little mistake there, but will it be enough to see us into Q3 here for the Vegas Grand Prix? First time since Imola! Yes, it is! Finally! We bag a P9 there. Love it! Well, I know I've been talking about it in recent races, but I was so hoping once before the end of the season we would make it back into Q3 there. The first time in 16 races this season we are back inside the top 10 come the end of Q2, but Hamilton fastest ahead of George Russell. It looks to be a Merc battle at the front. We've got one shot though. If we go any higher than 10th, I'm taking it as a win. Final lap then getting started here in Las Vegas. Lando Norris currently 9th on a 1:30.5, so we've got to take some big risks here if we want to match the McLaren. Perez, Leclerc and George Russell have all set 1:30 flat. So are we going to see any of them dip into the 129s as they're all coming up to the finish line? I'm just going to wring the neck out of this thing. Or I'm not. Slap the wall immediately. That's going to be qualifying over. Verstappen down in 8th place though, so he's had a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, that's a disappointing end, I won't lie. But we'll take the Q3. Well, there we go then. Lando Norris, on a 1:30.4 there down in 9th place, so was never going to get close to matching that. Pierre Gasly, 29.779 there for the Frenchman. Absolutely rapid by him at the end of the day. Alpine looking racy here. Could we get an 11th winner of the season? Let's find out.
Welcome along to Las Vegas. It's Viva Las Vegas tonight, as for the first time ever, the Formula One cars are racing along the strip. I can't wait to see what this place has in store for F1 tonight. 17 corners, 3 straights, 2 DRS zones, and the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas as we race around the 3.8 miles of Sin City. The strip has been taken over to become a straight tonight, commanding top speeds of around 212 miles an hour. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Magnussen, Verstappen, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, De Vries, Sainz, Bottas, Mr. Monaco, Stroll, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Théo Pourchaire, Albon, and Zhou Guanyu. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. They've been involved in a number of costly incidents lately. That's got to affect their mindset going into this race.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers are able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Well, quite a lot of grid penalties then here in Vegas, but the penultimate race of the season, and boy, is this one going to be a good one. Okay, 2-stop again then. Might be viable here. How is that slower than medium hard? I don't quite know what F123 is doing to work out the maths here, but I reckon that could be doable then. If it only reckons that hard, medium was going to be like 8 seconds slower than medium hard, we're just going to try it. We may as well. We've got not a lot to lose at this stage of the game. But yeah, plenty of grid penalties up and down the order though, but I think our big championship runners all pretty much where they qualified. George Russell, he's got a big opportunity today against Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, but the Dutchman just needs to finish behind them. Well, the maths is pretty simple. For Charles Leclerc, he has to win today, otherwise he's out of it. George Russell, he ideally would... Where on earth is Bottas going, sorry? He would ideally win this race in his mind, and Verstappen would have to finish off the podium. The Dutchman, if he finishes third, he's won it, no matter what the other two managed to do here tonight. But ready on the grid then here for the Vegas Grand Prix drama last season here. Will we see the same tonight? 5 red lights on the grid. Well, that might be the longest hold I've ever witnessed, but it is finally 5 red lights, and away we go. Trying to put the power down towards cell 1 as Bottas immediately will cover the inside. I'm going to try and use the extra grip to have a look down on the outside then through the first couple of corners as we'll make our way up into P12. Carlos Sainz there trying to hook it up as Piastri side by side with Verstappen a little bit further up the road, and everyone Constantino run up there as Gasly has already lost the lead to Charles Leclerc by the looks of it. We're side by side with the other Ferrari. Is that scary? That's late on the brakes. I apologise, Nick de Vries. So much Constantino run up there. And a little bit of wheel rubbing with the McLaren driver, but we've made it through. No, we haven't. Nick de Vries. Where's this Nick de Vries been throughout the last 2 seasons there? Cheeky little dive down in towards the next corner. And, of course, we've got a little bit of history with the Dutchman, of course, back in the Netherlands a few weeks ago. If you remember in the Dutch Grand Prix, came together and that ruined my afternoon there. But, yeah, Nick de Vries only scored points once this season, but hovering outside the top 10 in 11th. On this opening lap, as that was a lot of curb as we head out onto the back straight. No DRS enabled just yet. Then there's one of the Mercs now to the front of the field, if I'm not mistaken. So is that George Russell, or is that Lewis Hamilton? Of course, Hamilton can't win the World Championship. He's out of it. Knocked out last weekend in Brazil alongside Sainz and Sergio Perez. But yeah, I mean, it is still one driver from each of those 3 top teams with a shot of the crown. I mean, technically all of them mathematically still with a shot of the constructors, but Mercedes are really only hoping... I've pressed the wrong button. Mercedes only hoping to drag it out into the final weekend of the year, but it's Hamilton who leads the way then at the end of lap 1. So 1 Merc at the front of the field, but it's not the one they need. DRS now enabled then as we start lap 3, and Hamilton still at the front of the field. Red Bull really unable to make an impact early on tonight, but I mean, no one ever remembers who finishes second or third in the World Championship, so could we see Mercedes have to do a little bit of a switcheroo? I guess down there it would be multi 63-44. Hasn't quite got the same roll-off as multi 21 did back in the day, but Hamilton trying to build up an early lead. George Russell still, by the looks of it, under pressure from Pierre Gasly. We're trying to hang around in the DRS and Nick de Vries early on. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, these soft tyres aren't really providing me with a grip advantage I'd hoped. As we again take a lot of curb there as we head out onto the back straight. But what's the top end speed going to look like then in comparison to that McLaren? How quick are we going to be able to go? There goes 225. Are we locked in at 227? Yes, we are. So I reckon there is a hard limit then inside F123 at 227 miles an hour. We'll keep testing it, I'm sure, throughout Season 3 as we get more and more upgrades on the car, but that might be as quick as you can go on this game, at least with the Red Bull powertrain. Oh, Nick de Vries this time around has lost the DRS, so as long as we get a decent run out onto the back straight, we should be able to make this happen. And we are technically keeping that outside wheel over the white line there inside track limit, so I don't think what we're doing is illegal as we head out onto the back straight, but using plenty of DRS there. I mean, look at that ridiculous top-end speed. And goodbye, Nick de Vries, and up to 11th place we'll go early on in this race, but we need to try and get within the range of Ocon and Lando Norris in front. I remember last season here, we took a point away. I think it was was it on the very last lap or on the penultimate lap of the GP? But I'd rather run a bit more today inside that top 10. Well, Nick de Vries heading out onto the back straight, over half a second behind me, but pretty much immediately I think we're not going to get jumped by him. Carlos Sainz might be close as well by the time we get down the end here. Nick de Vries flies back through. And I'm amazed, to be honest, they haven't put a DRS zone between the penultimate and the final corner as well. They've slapped the wall a couple of times. Don't know if we got away with no damage. No, that's not what I want. Oh, I don't really care if Mark's a bit quieter. Yeah, so I got away with no front wing damage as we just cannot get within the range of all knock on the Norris. Going side by side through the first couple of turns. But yeah, we'll have to sit back behind Nick de Vries and hope he can close in on them as Carlos Sainz now looking hungry as well. So maybe this is why the game didn't recommend the soft tyres. They pretty much have turned to jelly immediately. Oh, yellow's out. Someone behind me. It's a back marker going slowly, I think. Don't quite know which one it is just yet, as Nick de Vries seems to have lost out on the DRS range again. So hopefully we might be able to get a run on him without using any battery here. It's the Haas car again then. I think that might be Lance Stroll out of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And what on earth is happening to Ferrari power late on in the year? That's the second mechanical failure for them in a row. And Stroll had other issues last weekend. There is Nick de Vries trying to jockey around for the position. Carlos Sainz even. Well, he's going to have two for the price of one. Look at that from Carlos Sainz. The balls on the Ferrari driver. Just a slide up the inside of myself in towards those final couple of turns. And fair play to him. Fortune favours the brave. Championship-wise at the front. George Russell P2 at the moment. So I think he'd score 18 points. So Max Verstappen would be world champion if things were to finish like this. He needs the win if the Dutchman finishes in like 7th. Well, I'll tell you what, letting Sainz by then has been a fantastic accidental strategic decision. I'm not going to try and claim I did it on purpose, but the Ferrari immediately slotted himself in the DRS of the cars in front. You still see Leclerc and Russell duking it out, and you know, it just does not work for either of them. But Hamilton has not had much luck this season when he's been leading. I just keep thinking back to Singapore. If he had another engine failure at another street track from the lead, I mean, for all we know, this might be Hamilton's swan song anyway. He hasn't announced retirement, but sometimes drivers still will. Inside F1 games of years gone by, will just suddenly hang up the gloves anyway. But I'm also thinking about trying to change up our strategy on the fly. I reckon we box the end of this lap and then try and take a set of hards to the end. Undercut a little bit further up the road. Oh, someone running wide there. Oscar Piastri a little way up the road. Making a bit of a mistake as we head out onto the back straight, and now things are about to get spicy as it's no longer a DRS train right from the front of the field. Ocon goes one way. Are we going to see Lando Norris try and get a run? Sainz put me in a wall. What is he doing as Oscar Piastri loses 1, 2, 3 and 4 as we head down the back straight there and trying to keep it up the inside of Carlos Sainz more just to kind of explain to the Spaniard that what he did was ridiculous, but back into the points we go then. Or first time, I think, today in the points we go this evening, as Carlos Sainz there. That was rubbing his racing up well over 200 miles an hour, but into the pit lane. Make sure we get the car slowed down, all nice and tidy there. And like I said, I've changed the strategy over to a set of hard compound tyres then. So we're going to try and undercut, maybe ahead of this group, maybe a bit closer to the Red Bulls at the front of the field, and then go from there, try and get those tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. No! 5 second stop. Deary me. We've now come out in a load of traffic that I didn't really want to be in, but if we can use some DRS, it's not the end of the world. All over the back of Zhou Guanyu almost immediately then here as we head down the back straight. You can see the Alfa Romeo car, actually a slightly slower top-end speed by the look of it there, as bouncing off the red line we go. Don't run into the back of Porsche, that was a bit scary. So we make our way down in towards the final couple of corners, but we attack the curves nicely. And yeah, we're going to start seeing other cars probably pitting in lap 11, lap 12, I would have thought. Was down the inside of Porsche then at the final corner. Never quite know what the AI are going to do there. To be completely honest, it's almost into the back of Sargent out at turn 1. It's all very, very scary. There's a lot of big braking zones, and of course we've got such a tyre advantage at the moment. You can just see those we head through the slower speed stuff. Sargent really struggling to put the power down, and we'll try and pull to the outside of the Williams then through this very high speed S-bend. I mean, I don't know really why I say very high speed. Pretty much everywhere around here is very high speed at the moment. Down the inside we'll go. Get the car stopped nicely. Surely Liam Lawson isn't going to be much of a challenge to try and navigate here, as Hamilton just building up a lead at the front of the field. Maybe even Pierre Gasly now has built up some safety as well behind him from Charles Leclerc, George Russell. And I can only assume it's Max Verstappen locked into that battle as well. Are we seeing the Dutchman mathematically closing out a world title here tonight? Aston Martin into the pit lane, first one to blink of the rest of our runners. That is Oscar Piastri, and we are ahead of him then. So maybe we've not done as badly as I'd originally thought from this whole pit window, and of course especially getting held up in the pit lane. The fight is still on here. Hamilton first to blink then of the front runners into the pit lane. Pierre Gasly is going to lead the way as Albon and Bottas duking out in front of me. I think 2 of our other 3 championship protagonists are all in the pit lane as well. Leclerc doesn't want to have to work his way back past Verstappen like he did last weekend, as Albon and Bottas getting the elbows out with each other is going to allow me to pretty much latch to the back of them by the time they peel into the pit lane. But where are we coming out relative to that whole gaggle then? That's the other big question at this stage of the day. There's Verstappen, and we're out ahead of Esteban Ocon then. So are we now within the DRS range of Kevin Magnussen? Yes, we are. So that works out quite nicely for us then. We might be in the fight in the second half of this race. I mean, the absolutely critical thing we do at the moment is just try and hang in the DRS range of these cars around us there. But Perez, Gasly and George Russell are all going to be peeling into the pit lane at the end of this one. And how are we losing so much to Magnussen? How quick is that Aston Martin in a straight line there as Verstappen gets the jump on Charles Leclerc? Remember, if Leclerc doesn't win this, he's out of it, so Verstappen doesn't even really need to go for that move, but clearly has got the straight line speed and will make it by. Final few cars into the pit lane though. Hamilton is going to re-emerge at the front of the field, but where is Russell going to be at? I think he's been jumped by Perez in all of this, so a disaster as we set new fastest lap of the day. But where is George Russell? He's come out behind us in this Grand Prix, so an absolute nightmare for him. And Verstappen only needed to finish on the podium, and that was if Russell and Leclerc won this thing. Verstappen's on the podium, and Leclerc and Russell are behind him. So a heartbreak for George Russell at the moment. He's going to really have to get his elbows out as the Dutchman trying to have a look past Pierre Gasly there, but Pierre holding firm in second. Things might be about to get a little bit crazy though. Pierre Gasly leading this train of cars as we head out onto the back straight, and I'm trying to be careful with my ERS usage at the moment, as here goes Max Verstappen then to the inside of Pierre Gasly, but I think Leclerc's also there. Leclerc just will sit back for now as Verstappen up to P2 then of the race, so really helping out Red Bull of course in the constructors fight. But Gasly, Leclerc, Magnussen all not going to give up yet as Russell stuck now in 8th. Here we go, Verstappen again then. I feel like we're going to be watching a lot of this battle in the dying stages of this GP. I keep looking for a 9th gear here, but Verstappen this time around to the outside of Pierre Gasly. Going to cleanly get the move done as here comes Leclerc down the inside. Maybe he'll try and get both of them. 2 for the price of 1 for Charles Leclerc. As yes, he is down the inside of Verstappen there. Plenty of contact between the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Leclerc knows he has to do something if he wants any chances. We're going to get a run on Kevin Magnussen out of the, well, towards the final corner, I suppose you should call it. But yeah, you can see Gasly now trying to eye up a move back down the inside of the Ferrari. This is all getting a little bit dramatic here. A little bit scary. I can't help but wonder if there's going to be some big ramifications soon as Magnussen tries to barge me into the wall there, does Kevin. So he just tries to push me out. Somehow we just hit it tyre face, so we get away with no damage. But now Gasly, Leclerc side by side. This gives Verstappen a golden opportunity to try and break free ahead of this gaggle of cars there, and he might just be able to do so if these two continue duking it out there. Magnussen back down the inside of myself as well. We'll just try and keep it inside track limits there, hopping over the curb as best as possible. But I think Gasly might just have saved his former teammate, the Dutchman, now with a bit of breathing room. But I'm sure even if Pierre's 9.5 tenths back, he'll pretty much be back with him again. There we go, Gasly. I don't think he's got DRS this time. Charles Leclerc gaining way too much speed on him as we head down the back straight, and maybe Leclerc can slingshot himself back into that range of the Dutchman. As we hit that bump there, it just bounces back under the red line at that moment and sends us with a huge amount of rear end weight transfer down in towards the corner. But has Verstappen done enough? We'll find out pretty soon. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't really matter. He's going to be world champion anyway, but it's just if he can break out of this DRS group, he might have a much less risk of anything happening late on. But there's no chance that Red Bull's got a 1 second lead. This is not over. Verstappen's now going to be a sitting duck as we head out onto the back straight. Leclerc and I both within the range. Magnussen dropping back though. George Russell must be watching this group just romp away from him, thinking there's nothing he can do. Leclerc to the outside of Max Verstappen. Are we going to see Gasly get involved again? Yes, we are. Gasly to the inside of the Dutchman as we head down the back straight. And surely Max just must feel so helpless and confused as to what to do here, as Gasly's going to make the double overtake then on our 2 most recent Formula 1 world champions. But Verstappen, he's just a bit stuck. You know, does he try and take the big risk and help the team out in the constructors? There's a wall there, Matt. Or does he just sit back and try to lock out his driver's championship first? Hamilton looks dead set to win this thing. He's just waltzing away at the front of the field. No idea what's going on behind him in all of this. But yeah, Leclerc there, both him and Verstappen running a bit wide. But the Dutchman will get a run again on Charles Leclerc. And I just can't help but feel there's going to be fireworks at some point very, very soon. Leclerc wheel banging with Max again as Pierre Gasly now will get an opportunity to try and break free ahead of this group. Perez inside the DRS range of myself, so it is all still to play for as Magnussen will get closer. Oh, Leclerc, big lock up, and we'll get down the outside of him through the next corner. Lots of understeer though, so I don't think we're really going to be able to do anything off the turn. This is going to be a drag race then with Charles Leclerc in towards the S's. We'll have the inside for the first one. The AI take a weird line through here. I'm going to have to try and squeeze him, which I've just about done. Compromises my line on the exits. You can see how big of a gap here Gasly's been able to build up, but we're just fighting for it because we can at the moment. I'd love a podium here in Vegas. That's the only thing on my mind, is we're going to try and get a run on Verstappen, then try and drag Charles Leclerc with me as we head down the back straight. As there we go, Verstappen going to try and defend, but it's not worth it. One car goes by, another car goes by in Charles Leclerc. Even Perez there, as down the inside will go Sergio Perez. Where's he come from in all of this? This is just utterly bonkers. Perez down the inside of Leclerc. Nope, thinks better of it as we're now going to start gaining in on the Red Bull, who is going to try and get to the inside, but Leclerc slams the door. Verstappen now. I'll have a look down the inside of myself as well off the corner. This time around we should be able to defend. We'll park the bus, but that gives Perez and Leclerc more breathing room again in front. We've also got to remember we're on much older tyres than anyone else, which are definitely going to start to struggle towards the end. Perez to the outside of Charlie Boy. I think Gasly's locked out P2 the way this is going. As are we going to see these two squabble in a similar fashion to we did one lap ago? It's a different Red Bull, but it's the same Ferrari. And again, Leclerc again kicks out the back end, and again the Red Bull around the outside will make the move work. Leclerc down the inside of Perez once again. So we just reached the red line, and Leclerc back into P3 once more. What is going to happen? 6 laps to go here from Vegas. I mean, for all we know, Verstappen could end up having an engine failure, and Russell still not be close enough to win the world title. But Russell sat in 8th place watching this battle all unfolding. Has he been able to save his tyres and really go on a late race offensive? It feels more of a lottery at the moment as to who gets the run and where. Perez again, trying to have a look past Charlie Boy down the back straight. Seems like things just maybe, well, I say calming down, there's still overtakes going on every single lap. But Verstappen just not able to quite match me at the moment, so I wonder if he took a bit too much out of his tyres early on in the stint. Yeah, Gasly is not home and dry just yet, let's not forget. But Hamilton, yeah, cruising to a victory by the looks of things. Perez now clearly wants to try and go in hot pursuit of Pierre Gasly before the end of this, building up a good little gap over Leclerc, but again, it's pointless. You can't do anything with it as Pierre Gasly still safe. Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez duking it out behind him. And I mean, this works out nicely for me because, of course, we're just claiming the DRS every single lap. Just trying to save a bit of battery, ready to go for a late race attack on the pair of them again. 4 laps to go here in Vegas. Oh, Leclerc, big lock-up down at the end of the back straight, and Sergio Perez will say thank you very much again. So Charles Leclerc that time round just making a little mistake, because I had to try and turn the wheel away from the wall. I'll hop over the runoff area and just about hang on to the position there. No wonder how unhappy Max Verstappen might be. But yeah, in those instances, you're actually better off turning really aggressively and compromising your braking performance, because if you just nick the wall at the wrong angle, you will pick up the front wing damage. However, Leclerc, Perez, round 6,804 it feels like in this Grand Prix. And I think, yep, now we can probably say Gasly, unless something really bad happens, is checked out in front. Leclerc around the outside again of Sergio Perez, but look at the speed we've got when we really go for it there. Closing in down the inside of Sergio. Leclerc's just going to try and cover me off, and that will allow Perez down around the outside again. I don't mind sitting here and watching these two duke, as long as we save everything for the last lap. Here we go, 2 laps to go. Perez back around the outside of Charles Leclerc once more then. As this time around, I mean, the Red Bull definitely seems to be able to get ahead earlier on the back straight, but Gasly is still struggling. As Charles Leclerc thinks about it down the inside there. That would have been a very audacious attempt to hang on to the position, but really you actually want to be the car behind with just one onto the final lap then. But we're going to go down the inside of Charles Leclerc through the final corner. We're not going to try and let Perez get away. 3 seconds the gap up to Gasly further up, but as long as I don't now lose time to Sergio, we are definitely trying to fight for the podium here. A lot of understeer as we make our way out of the first couple of turns. Yellow flags out of the back of the field. Is that an AlphaTauri blowing up? Or is that a Williams that was struggling momentarily? Don't quite know, but we're going to focus on what we're doing here, and that's currently trying to stay in the range of Sergio Perez. Hamilton, he has led a dominant drive here in Vegas. I'm sure early on the team would have probably asked him if he could let George Russell by, but he held firm, and it's probably been a good job for their team that he has done, because it looks today like the Drivers' Championship hopes of George Russell are going to have to wait another year. Max Verstappen has just got to try and navigate one more lap around this Las Vegas circuit, but to be honest, unless Russell can recover to 3rd, it won't matter anyway, because Max Verstappen, you know, even if he DNF now, even if he have an engine failure, the Dutchman would still have a big enough advantage. George Russell needs 13 points here if he wants to try and keep that title fight alive into our final race in Abu Dhabi. But Sergio Perez, as we head down the back straight, we'll have a look to the outside of him. Yellow's out. Someone's got issues. Who's that going to be then? As well, Sergio Perez trying to keep the car down the inside. We are going to get a late race failure here. And is that Perez blowing up, or is that someone else? I think it might be a car a little bit further back. I don't really know. Oh, it's a Red Bull. I think it is Perez. I think Perez might be out of the Grand Prix there. And how dramatic would that have been if it was in fact Max Verstappen? Going very, very slowly, and Sergio Perez now out of the Grand Prix, so Mercedes' chances of the Constructors have suddenly got a whole lot better, but it's aided Max Verstappen even further here, as he's going to be given another place in this Grand Prix. But suddenly now we're into P3 then, and we've got a 1 second lead over Charles Leclerc. Let's not forget as well in all of this that I took quite a gamble actually to try and take the hard tyres to the end of the afternoon. It's all slammed the wall, we've got to try and keep the gap up over Leclerc. But what a turnaround this has been tonight. Chaotic racing. Sergio Perez, I'm sure, heartbroken to lose it all right on the final lap. But can I just keep the DRS range window open from Charles Leclerc here, using the battery as we make our way through the middle sector. Oh, a little bit of a lock up there. That might allow him to get a bit closer as we nudge the wall. Try and put the power down. I think he might just be within the range, so we're going to be watching Charles Leclerc behind us. Watching that gap. We're just going to drain the battery as we head down this back straight there. Do not care 1 second about that. And Leclerc, he's not going to be able to close up and off on us. Drain it, drain it, drain it. 214 miles an hour by the time we get down the end of the straight. But Hamilton is going to win the Vegas Grand Prix there and keep Mercedes constructors' hopes alive. I'm going to make a hash of the final couple of corners. Is that going to leave us vulnerable to Charles Leclerc? He's going to try and have a look down the inside. Come on, we've run out of battery. We're going to have to squeeze him right to the very end, but we come through. But Max Verstappen is world champion.
Yes, nice work, mate. You did a really good job today. Pretty sure the boss is going to be happy with that one.
Well, it's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. And as they take the checkered flag, the fans go wild. They broke the bank in Las Vegas. The strip has been conquered. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. And this also means there's no catching our leader anymore. And we crown a new World Drivers' Champion. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. Look at where they finished compared to where they started. It's not easy to cut through the field like that in Formula One, so it was a great effort.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, there we go then. Lewis Hamilton, I'm sure it was another one on his bucket list of places to win at. Las Vegas Grand Prix, another location for Lewis Hamilton to tick off the list there. Fantastic dominant display. Got the lead early on and never really looked back there. Pierre Gasly comes home for P2 ahead of myself there. And yeah, big bold strategy by us to come through from 14th on the grid. But we will take a podium late on in the season, beating out Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and our new Formula One World Champion in Max Verstappen. It really did look late on in the campaign like Red Bull were going to throw it away again, but he manages to hold firm there, and a 6th place finish is enough to take the dub. Ocon, Norris, Piastri and Magnussen will round out our top 10. Carlos Sainz there, I'm sure, a bit gutted to not walk away with any points there, and you can see Sergio Perez 2 laps down. Stroll, the only car not to see the flag, as don't know how Albon did a 132 flat, but okay, he's taken my fastest lap bonus point away by half a second there. Championship-wise, though, yep, 36 points left in the fight. And there's only 26 points available into that final race. Still battles going on behind, though. Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton all still duking it out for a potential P2 in the championship. Perez and Sainz duking it out for P5. And now with an 18-point lead over Oscar Piastri heading into the final race, I think we can stick a fresh engine in the back of the car and really not worry about it all too much there. Further down the order, any other major changes? Doesn't really look like it. Constructors-wise, though, 6 points between Mercedes and Red Bull heading into the final race. That is all still to play for, and I think you could argue that Mercedes are the ones with the momentum behind them at the moment. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very, very soon when Formula 1 returns for the finale of Season 2 will be out in Abu Dhabi.